Hello there everybody, Swandzz here, or Sarah or Pint Size Palace here today to make a video. I want to make a tutorial about skin texturing. Now, skin texturing is one of my favorite things to do. I feel like it really brings a face up to that next level. And what skin texturing is basically anything you do to make the skin appear more lifelike. So that would be freckling, discoloration, bruising, highlighting, contouring, anything that you would do to the face to make it appear more lifelike, adding veins, so on and so forth. So there's lots of different kinds of skin texturing. What I normally do is I like to add a little bit of imperfection to the skin to make it look more real and human. And what I mean by that is usually I like to add some freckling, some moles. Sometimes I do skin texturing with freckling and you can't even tell that the face is freckled necessarily. Like a lot of people have freckles and you wouldn't consider them freckled people because it kind of just sort of blends in with their skin. It's not the thing where the sort of thing where it stands out a lot. I like to do that kind of skin texturing, and I also really like using colors. So I have some colors down here, as you can probably see, and I think the main thing I really like to utilize is these green tones. So I use like a teal color. I like to put that under the eyes, and depending on the face up and what feel I'm going for, I might add it to the forehead and to the chin and to the bridge of the nose, because it's kind of like a cooling color. So I'm just going to get started and basically show you layer by layer how I texture a face up normally. So what I'm going to do for this head is it's a bit of a darker tan color, so I'm going to take this reddish color I have here and I'm going to start blushing and shading like normal in the places where I feel it's required. I usually like to do it in the hollows of the face, and that's usually where I start. And this is my medium tone. As you can see, I also have darker and lighter colors down here as well. When figuring out what kind of skin texturing you want to do, I think you just need to ask yourself, you know, what kind of character is this? What style or what look are you going for? And that can help you out a lot. If it's someone who's super tired and grungy, you might want to do, you know, dark circles under the eyes, or even like veins, or even, you know, you can take it a step further and do bruising under the eyes, like they're so freaking tired that under their eyes is nearly purple. So yeah, you can just go do that. And like if you have a character who you see as someone who's very lighthearted, maybe they like to go outside a lot, you can, you know, add sunspots to their skin and basically just, you know, try and add a little bit of life to the character and to the face up. So I'm almost done adding my medium tones here. I just want to get the nose, and obviously over the course of the face up these tones and things will be intensified, but yeah. So now I'm going to take my darker contour color, which is this dark brown here, and I'm going to put it in the hollows of the cheeks, and I'm going to put it under the chin, and I'm going to put it right here on the temples and around like the creases of the eyes. And I'm going to go back in with my fat brush and feather this out. Kind of have it all, you know, blend together. Now, this face up is going to have deliberate freckles, so it's going to be one of those face ups where you look at them and you go, okay, that person has a lot of freckles. So I want to do deliberate freckles over the bridge of the face, and then I want to do you know, a subtle freckling to texture the skin over the majority of the face. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to take my wet brush here, and I'm going to use that medium tone to first do some freckles that will sort of blend into the skin overall, just to give that, you know, appearance of some texture and life in the skin. And then we're going to do our, quote, deliberate freckles over the rest of her face, over the bridge of her nose. So I just get my wet pastel on my brush. You can also use watercolors for this, that works well as well. And I'm just gonna flick it. Usually you can get some of the extra off with a flick towards the paper, because sometimes it's very wet and heavy. So I'm just going to do this light freckling to her face. Now it's going to look more bold when it first hits the head, just because as it dries it's going to get more of a chalkiness to it, and it's going to blend in a little more because this is pastel, not paint. Sorry, let me just make sure I'm in frame. I don't know how this lighting is, I'm sorry guys. I'm trying to wait till I get a better camera to do more like tutorials like this, but if you guys are still liking the tutorials despite the fact that I'm using my phone and it's not a great setup, you can let me know, because I will still attempt to do them, obviously, since I'm doing that now. Alright, now we're just going to let this dry for a moment, and then we're going to add the rest of the freckles. Alright, so it's mostly dry, and the reason why I wanted to wait till it was mostly dry was A, to show you what it looks like, and B, so that when I do the freckles over the bridge of the nose, they're not going to really like blend in and bleed into the other freckles I already did. So I want to get this closer and see if I can get it to focus, and show you guys, like, some of the darker ones are the ones that are still more wet, but as you can see on most of the face, it's really blended in to the skin and really made it look just like it's got a nice, you know, imperfection to it. So now we're going to take our brush again, and we're going to freckle over the nose, and we're going to make those freckles darker, and we're also going to be using a smaller brush. So here's the brush that I'm going to be using. The reason why we're wanting to choose a smaller brush for this is because we want to have a little more control over where these freckles are going. So I've taken my wet brush, and put it into my dark pastel, and we're just going to go over the bridge of her nose and across her cheeks. Now, I will say that when you're beginning at this, when you're new to it, you probably want to do all of your freckles on separate layers, so that if you mess them up, you can take them off with some wet brush and you won't be messing anything up. I am pretty confident in how my technique and everything, so that's why I don't do that anymore, because I just don't find it necessary. But when you're first starting out and you're nervous about it, and you haven't done the freckles a lot, I think that's what I'm trying to say, like, once you do it a lot, it's easier to make sure it goes correctly the first time. But when you're new to it, you might want to seal each layer, so that if you need to make an adjustment, you can without messing anything up. So as you can see here, I'm just kind of like blotching in areas where it's very concentrated, just because I want to, you know, mellow it out a little bit. It's all about like balance. If you look at somebody who has freckles, they're gonna have big freckles, small freckles, with different, you know, varying ranges of tone in them, so some spots darker than others. So you just kind of want to try and mimic that to get the most realistic feel out of it. God, I can't talk. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to focus on here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to seal this, and then we are going to do our final layers of skin texturing. So this obviously is not going to cover the whole entire face up. We're just covering the skin texturing now because we're almost done with the skin texturing. Alright, I'll be right back. So face ups to me are really all about colors and variety of colors, and that doesn't mean, you know, go and splash a rainbow on your doll's face every time you do it. But if you look at anything in life, there are ranges of colors. Even in like one blade of grass, you're not getting one shade of green. You're getting greens and yellows and sometimes even blues when the... So taking that into consideration, there are a lot of different colors that you can use in a face up without making your face up look like it's some rainbow face up or something. So for example, I've already used a medium tone and a darker tone, and now I'm about to use a highlighting tone and then an even darker tone to contrast around the eyes, and a green tone. So I'm using a lot of different colors here. So I'm going to start by taking some of this reddish auburn color, which is what I used for the medium freckles, and I'm just going to go around the nose and contour that a little bit. This is our second layer technically of the face up. And the nose contouring is sort of like the lips, where it's going to be a process that goes throughout the whole entire face up. So basically every time you seal, you end up adding another layer. And speaking of lips, since I'm going to need to do this soon, I'm going to just start contrasting the lips. This is normally something I would do on the first layer. I just forgot since I was focused on the skin texturing. Meaning I would do the first layer of the lips on my first layer, but I completely forgot. As you can see, you can hardly even tell that I've put it down, and that's why you need to do it over so many layers. Now I'm going to take my green tone, put it under the eyes, and actually I'm gonna get out a pink tone here soon. For the inner corners of the eyes and for the apples of the cheeks. So the reason why I'm putting down this green tone before I put down my eyeshadow contrast and stuff like that is because I want it to sort of be underneath. I don't want it to be extremely noticeable, so by the end of the face up it's not going to be like the main attraction, like, wow, that person has really green under eyes. It's just going to be subtle, something that blends into the skin like it would normally be. So as you can see, I'm just shadowing around the eyes. I always do this even if the character is not supposed to be wearing like makeup or something, because you want drama around the eyes. When people are not wearing makeup, they're around their eyes is still usually darker, whether it's like a darker purple or a darker pink or a red or even, you know, borderline black, depending on, you know, how tired they are, how stressed they are. So I always like to add some contrast and depth around the eyes, because doing that doesn't necessarily make it look like this person is going to be wearing a full face of makeup. I think everything that you do to the face up is going to lend to that. So this is still, in my opinion, a very natural looking face up, even though I am adding a lot of drama around the eyes. So now I'm just going to take this light tone I have here and highlight in a couple places. I normally only do this on tan dolls because I feel like they can get a little bit not washed out, but whatever the opposite of washed out is, maybe like muddied up. So I like to just take precautions against that and usually highlight to bring out some parts of the face that might have been lost with all the shading and stuff. So the last layer of skin texturing we're going to add is pink to the cheeks. And as you can see, I think my main word of advice is that skin texturing is all about layers. Like, even after I seal this, I'll add more pink later just to enhance the contrast, because with pastels especially, things do get things are hard to build up. You have to use a lot of layers if you want to get some good dimension and depth. So all of this is going to be spread out through many layers, but you can repeat them as many times as you want until you have your desired amount of contrast. Like, I don't think I would add more freckles. I'm pretty happy with what I have going on, but you can always add more freckles at any point during the process if you feel like you've lost them or you need more. I like to add freckles underneath most of my layers because I think that it makes it look more natural, in my opinion. So that's why I like to put them on the bottom instead of just starkly on top. So that is going to conclude my skin texturing tutorial, and I do hope that you found it helpful. I hope this lighting is not too horrific and you can see what I'm doing and what I'm trying to show you. But if you guys have any particular questions or comments, please leave those for me down below and I will respond to the best of my ability. Skin texturing can be very rewarding when done properly, and it can really lend to your face up a lot. So thank you guys very much for watching, and like I said, I really hope that you got something from this and you have something you can take away and perhaps try on your own later. I did upload a tiny little freckling tutorial by itself on my Patreon, so if you like little extra content like that, you can pledge to my Patreon for just $1 a month and get access to that. Everybody on my Patreon, all of my patrons, are the reason why I am still able to make content the way that I am now. Consistent content, because otherwise I would not, it just wouldn't be feasible for me. I'd have to get a real job and I wouldn't have time for it. So yes, if you do like this kind of stuff, you can always find more of it on my Patreon, and you can also give me suggestions there, and I'm way more likely to see them and be able to do them. So thank you guys very much, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye! Okay, you can click all of my little buttons, click my subscribe circle or the video or playlist that's listed below. You will also find that link to my Patreon down there, and I would very, very, very much appreciate your support. I love you all, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye bye!